Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Cade, and for this episode, we are going to be doing a group interview where we're talking about unpopular movie opinions. And for this episode, I have four guests with us here today. I am once again joined by three returning guests, Felicity, Hunter, and Cassidy, and one brand new guest, our friend Chloe. So, first up, Felicity, Hunter, Cassidy, welcome back.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks,
Hello.
Kate. Appreciate it.
Oh, happy to have you back. Chloe, welcome. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Why don't we start with you, Felicity? So, what's one of your unpopular movie opinions that you wanted to talk about?
Okay. I'll go with a light one at first. So my favorite genre of films are rom-coms. So I would say that rom-coms aren't bad just because they aren't saying something profound. A love story or like a little silly haha love story is, I think beneficial to the world. I, as a person who dislikes consuming sad or upsetting imagery a lot, prefers to enjoy something a little lighthearted and warm, more so of the time. I do still like horror and thrillers and stuff like that. Like I would say thrillers are like my second number two or whatever. But yeah, no, rom-coms, just because they're not, making a big spiel about anything important, I think they're still pretty good. But I know a lot of people hate them because they're like usually just they're never saying anything. It's literally just a love story, and it's like, oh yeah, you'll find them.
Well, I will say this, Felicity. I think that when it comes to romantic comedies, I will be honest, I'm not as big of a fan of them as you probably are, but I think that for me, my favorite romantic comedy film is probably Silver Linings Playbook, if you guys have seen that.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the reason why is because, and again, this might be something that you feel differently on. It's not just about the romance of the film. I think it's also got a pretty unique and compelling story to tell as they go through the film and it explores the romance. So that is definitely up there. But is there a favorite romantic comedy for you?
I'm trying to think.
The Spectacular Now is so good.
That's a good one. I would say that's just a romance, though, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I would say so.
I mean, it's funny though. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's one of my favorites too. I really do love that one.
What's the spectacular now?
That one's with Shailene Woodley and Miles Teller, and I don't know what the plot is about, to be honest. They just like meet and they're just so like unusual, but they're like work very well together, and it's
That's
so
great.
good.
Yeah, she's like the quiet, shy girl, and he's like the kind of popular guy. It's kind of that trope, but like it has more heart.
It's such a trope now that I think
I
about
remember that.
it.
No.
It doesn't come across that way though. So
I kind of wondered at first if it was the one about the time travel, the redhead. That one's so good. I think that's called like About Time, maybe.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. The one with Rachel McAdams.
Mm.
Yeah. I've not seen that one. It looks good though.
Oh, it's so good.
I would say one of my favorite rom-coms is The Broken Hearts Gallery. It has Zachary Montgomery from Stranger Things in it. He's like Billy or whatever, the bully guy. And this other actress, I forget her name, but she's amazing in it. And they do this like she's like does an art installation in his hotel that he's remodeling, and they like become friends and stuff, and then they like get together. But it's not like, I don't know. I feel like they're going through their own struggles personally, but it's not like the trope of like, they have to overcome something. I mean, they do definitely overcome something, like that's in every rom-com, but they have like their own things that they're working on in it. I don't know. It's just a good one. Like that's one that I go to like all the time. And it came out like within the last few years, and I feel like there hasn't been a lot since like the 2000s that are as like good, like the ones from 2000s, or like even When Harry Met Sally, like that's probably my number one rom-com ever. It is just so good. And it's a classic. Everybody loves it. So, yeah.
It is so good.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, but why don't we move on to Hunter next? Hunter, what is one of your unpopular movie opinions that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah. I feel like I'm also gonna keep it light, like Felicity, and then we can get into like deeper whatever. Similarly, I said reality TV is good and we need to stop hating on it. It's so good. Like I just don't know what to say. I feel like we put it in the same category as like rom-coms, and there's like a place for it. You know what I mean? Like we don't have to just discount it. Like we're able to like different things, and like that's okay.
Yes, Hunter. Yes, Hunter. I feel like if I were to say I like a reality show, like in a film class, I'd be judged immediately. Maybe not, but I feel like I would be. And I think it should be in a class of its own. And I think we never discuss reality TV in film classes, and it's a part of like the realm that we live in. So I think it has its own class, and it's its own like little box that we put it in every day. So I agree. I totally agree with you, Hunter.
Yeah. There's something about just like mindless TV that I feel like we need sometimes. Like we can't always be consuming this, like, I don't know. We just need some light, fluffy, entertainment sometimes.
Junk food.
Yeah.
It's also a really good source of like, for lack of a better term, people watching. Like the psychology of it is so interesting. The sociology, just like, especially the group settings, like Love Island, where you're just watching all these people go through real emotions in real time, and you're like, actually, I can totally see where you're coming from.
You're like, I am on your side, and I see where everything came from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I had more to say to this. Unfortunately, the thing is, I'm ignorant when it comes to reality TV. I don't have as much, experience with it. I'm sorry, Hunter.
No, you're good. We just like anytime we hang out, we like always watch like reality TV.
She's outing us.
It's our play date.
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we move on to Cassidy next? Cassidy, what is an unpopular movie opinion that you wanted to talk about?
Oh, okay. I'll start with my first one. That I don't need to see this version of the Titanic. I think it would be so much more interesting to have a crew version instead of like two pretentious lovers who are not even, they don't know anything about the ship. They don't know the role that's going on. They don't know how long it took to set everything up. And we're just seeing it from their point of view. I just think it's a little silly. I think we should be seeing it from one of the crew members, one of the captains, one of the workers, just someone else besides for like these two random strangers that just met. That's all.
Well, for you as an audience member, do you find it baffling that it's essentially one of the biggest movies of all time right now?
I mean, I don't know, because I haven't seen it. So I'm like, I feel like I can't, like maybe I will be baffled, but just from an overview, what it seems like it's just, I don't know. Maybe people just really love a good romance that's just a fantasy. It's never going to happen. People just love that they just eat it up. I think it's one of those things.
Hunter, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, because I was gonna write this also on my list. I'm right there with you, Cassidy. I have seen it though, and unpopular opinion, I don't think it's that good. I don't like it. I don't have like real legs to like support that opinion. I just know I've seen it like multiple times, and every time I'm like, it's too long. I just don't like it. Like I appreciate what they did with it and like what it took to actually like make the film and like the acting in it, but there's something about it that I just can't get behind. So I'm with you.
Yay. Thank you. I appreciate your support.
What about you, Chloe? What's one unpopular movie opinion you wanted to bring up?
So this one we kind of like talked about as a group briefly. And I was talking to Felicity about it earlier, but I guess my unpopular opinion is that I'm kind of looking forward to seeing the new Willy Wonka movie. And I know that the girls don't agree, but me and my brother were talking about it because he's into films as well. And I totally see, like, via the trailer, how it can come off as cringy because there were some selects that they put in there that I was like, why'd you do that? It makes Timothy Chalamet look so strange. But I also think that's an ode to the character he's playing. Like, it's pre-Wonka. But also, it's kind of cool because there's a film that came out recently that I thought the same thing about. I can't remember. But they're almost like reigniting the Willy Wonka thing with the younger generation. Like there's gonna, like after the movie comes out, there's gonna be this huge push of like Willy Wonka candy and like all this stuff. So maybe like the magic of it is kind of interesting to me too. But I think it genuinely looks like a decent movie because like they're sticking with the quirkiness. Like in the trailer, sorry, I know I'm rambling, but like in the trailer, he is like thinking of an idea and then the light bulb like goes over his head and he's like, huh, like it matches this certain level of not ridiculousness, but like quirkiness where I feel like if they do a good job with it, like I hope they will, that it'll be decent.
Yeah, I think I do agree with you on that, Chloe. I mean, in all honesty, it's not a movie I'm desperately wanting to see in the theaters when it's released, but I think I will probably give it a watch at some point just because I'll be curious. But either way, I am interested to see what Timothy Chalamet does in the role, just seeing as how gifted an actor he is.
And I agree. I'm not like running to the theaters to go see it, but I'm definitely like once I don't have to buy it, I'll watch it.
All right, should we move on to one of your other opinions? Do you guys want to hear one of mine?
We want to hear one of yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Jeez. I think because you started off with all your lighter opinions, I think I should start off with my heaviest opinion.
I love it.
Okay, here's my controversial movie opinion. This is probably, again, the most controversial movie opinion I've ever had. So, Batman 1989 is often regarded as one of the greatest Batman movies ever made. I disagree with that. And here's why I say that. So, do I think it's one of the most important Batman movies ever made? Yes, it is, because it's very inspirational and it helped create everything that's great about Batman in general, and mostly in the cinema. But the thing about the movie, I don't know if this makes sense, but while it's still a good movie, it's not exactly a great Batman story, if that makes sense. Because I look back at it, there are things about it that I do appreciate. It's the aesthetic is incredible. It's shot beautifully. The production value is incredible. The performances are really iconic, especially Jack Nicholson as the Joker and Michael Keaton as Batman. But aside from that, I don't find most of the plot of that movie very entertaining as a Batman fan. I don't love the characterization of Bruce Wayne in that movie. And I also don't like the change that they make to Batman's backstory, which is one of the most important things about his character, because we find out that the Joker is the one who killed his parents in this movie. But the whole idea in the comics, when Batman lost his parents to a mugger, usually it's depicted as being a random mugger in the comics, but in this, you make it the Joker. And for me, that's just not really something I'm a fan of as a big fan of the character, because the whole idea was that it wasn't a specific person that killed his parents. It was crime in general that killed him. So making it, giving that personal connection to Batman and Joker just feels like it doesn't do much justice to the comics. But that's just my opinion. I don't know. What do you guys think?
One question. Me and Hunter watched the Batman, the one with Robert Pattinson, recently, and I never got to finish it. I know, bad, but it was very long. And did somebody else kill his parents in that one, or did we not see that in that film? Because I just remember something along that storyline, right?
Yeah, it's left kind of ambiguous in that movie. And that's kind of what I like about it, because they don't really make it clear. And that's sort of the whole point. It's never really clear who did it. But that's, again, the idea. The whole point of that is that crime is what killed his parents rather than a specific person. And that's what fills his vendetta. So, but yeah, that movie, The Batman, along with the Dark Knight trilogy, those are all some of my favorite Batman movies, because they're not just great movies, they're great Batman stories. And for me, Batman 1989, as a movie, it's still very important, but as a Batman story, it just doesn't go up that high on my list. I feel bad saying that, but yeah. But enough about that. Why don't we move on to another one of your opinions? Felicity, what is another opinion you wanted to talk about?
I guess I will say, I feel like this is maybe my most controversial in instances of like if you go to film school and you're like a film person, whatever, that kind of trope. I don't think that Citizen Kane is the best film ever made. And I know most of the girls share my sentiment on that one. I think it's a good film. It was like fun to watch. I enjoyed it, but maybe some of the, like wonder of it got lost on me since I was not born during the time that it first came out. I can see like where a lot of things come from with it, and what we use today and what, trails it blazed. But I mean, I definitely don't think it's one of the best movies ever made. I couldn't tell you what the best movie ever made is, in my opinion, but I don't think it's that one.
No, I can see where you're coming from with that, Felicity, because Citizen Kane, while I still think it's a good movie overall, yeah, it's definitely, just in my opinion, never been one of the best movies ever made. But again, that's just me. What about you, Hunter, Cassidy, and Chloe? Is it a film that you're a big fans of?
Yeah, well, I can really appreciate it for like the technical aspect of it and like, what they did with camera to distort like your perception and everything like that. Like technically, for the time, I think it's good. You know what I mean? Like we can all appreciate that. But like overarching, yeah, I would agree. Like I don't think I would watch it again. Like story-wise, I wasn't into it. I don't think it holds up story-wise. And just like now with all the other films being made, like I just don't think it holds up as the best movie ever made.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think there was definitely like a time when it was probably the best film ever made because it just like transcended all these like ideas about filmmaking that people hadn't even like really thought up yet. But at the same time, I don't remember the movie.
There you
So
go.
like how
Fair
good
enough.
was it?
Fair
I was like, I
enough.
need to rewatch it. I don't have an opinion. I'm pretty sure it wasn't memorable though. Like there's some technical shots that we copy now these days,
Yeah.
but like as far as it being a story that like is mind-bending, like depth driven, it was a guy who's really rich and he had like a fucking fortress with like someone that he was like in love with, or see, I don't even remember. It really did not stick. So I have no opinion.
Understood. Understood. Well, tell you what, why don't we move on to Hunter next? Hunter, what is another unpopular movie opinion that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, let me. Okay, I guess I'll go with like a hard-hitting kind of one. It's not necessarily like a specific movie related. It's just kind of like an overarching like what film has become, but basically like I think technology, especially with like cameras and lights and whatever, has become so accessible and that like a lot of people with like very little budgets are making really beautiful imagery. But because we have all this access to be able to do that, and that's kind of all we have been caring about for so long, I feel like stories and like dialogue and character development and everything that just goes into like the script and the foundation of the film is being lost with like this, access to technology.
Yeah, I will agree with you on that, Hunter. And, I think that relates to something that I've always felt about movies. So I think when I look back at films, when you talk about how you can capture a movie, like how you can make it look and whatnot, and when it relates to story. So I think just because a movie looks fantastic doesn't necessarily mean that it has a fantastic story to tell.
Yeah, because it's like, you guys were talking about like Shawshank Redemption, and it's like a really beautiful, like a really good film, but it's not like the most beautiful looking film. It's not, like the imagery's fine, but it's not like, the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. But it's like the foundation of the film is there and the characters are there. And like that's what drives the movie to be such a good film. It's not like the imagery, you know? Like we're just losing
100%.
that.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, why don't we move on to Cassidy next? Cassidy, what is another unpopular opinion you wanted to talk about?
This is kind of like a broader film related opinion, but I think we should stop dubbing foreign films. I think it's because us Americans are very lazy and we don't want to pay attention to subtitles and read them. So we just dub instead, and it takes away from like the language, the culture, the origin of where it's filmed. It just kind of ruins it, and it takes you like out of that space that you're supposed to be in where it's located. So I just think we should get rid of dubbing. Totally.
I totally agree. I only watch like foreign film, TV shows with subtitles. I watch everything with subtitles because I can't hear. But I have no problem with subtitles, but I don't know. I think that I like have to hear it in the native tongue because it really takes you out of it when you're like watching. Like you said, it takes you out of it. Like you can't connect to it emotionally when it doesn't line up or you can't feel the correct emotion. Like they pick those actors for a reason. Like, so let them act. Like speaking is a part of acting. So if I hear somebody else doing it, like it's not going to match what that person's doing. So
The tones are usually off. The manners, like just everything, it just doesn't add up, and it just never works. And I'm like, we just need to stop.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that. How about you, Chloe? Why don't we move on to another one of your opinions? What is one unpopular opinion you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, I don't know how well this aligns under like unpopular movie opinions, but it was a conversation my brother and I were having recently and kind of lines up with this. But we were talking about how, like, obviously cable TV is dying. I think that's pretty obvious, but we were talking about how we think that you're going to start seeing a shift into people, a shift into like the story origin for video games. And the big reason behind that I thought was really interesting was like so many people, like when you're watching TV especially, and sometimes when you're watching like movies at home, everyone's just like on their phone, like in and out of their phone. But when you're playing a video game, you physically can't be on your phone because you have a controller in your hands. So it's like I think it's gonna start to be one of the like the only things that you're fully immersed with because our cell phones are so distracting. Like even my other brother, like he'll be like, "Oh, let's watch a movie tonight. Let's watch a movie," and then I'll like look over and he's just on his phone. I'm like, "Dude, you picked it. You begged to pick this movie, and now you're not even watching it."
Yeah.
And like I'm guilty too, but I thought it was really interesting. And I saw like a statistic online that was something about how like us I think it was like actually I'm not going to say the number because I don't remember, but a higher percentage of people found like video game stories more interesting than movies.
Wait,
Yeah.
I only say this because I think it kind of is already happening because I watch Colin play a lot of video games, and last night he was playing one that he's like actually replaying for like the second or third time, and it's called Alan Wake. And in Alan Wake, they literally have like cutscenes where they have actually filmed like the people, how do I even say this, like the actors to the characters, they've like filmed them in real time and they've like cut it into the video game, so you're like actually watching like a 10-minute snippet of I don't even know how to describe this. You know what I'm trying to say though? Like there's like
It's animated.
no, it's like the actual people that are playing the characters that they've like animated.
What?
Oh yeah.
so you get
Yeah.
like a
Oh, wait a
10-minute
second.
clip
Oh,
of
wait a
like
second.
them IRL, like as
IRL,
these
like
characters.
yes,
That's cool.
like performing like a scene.
Oh,
That's
That's
crazy.
cool. Like
Like
that.
I'll
that's
send
really
you a
cool.
link or something after if you're like interested, but it's like so sick. And they like I'll send you a few clips if you're like interested because it's like really cool how they integrate like the real people in like a movie format, and there's like it's like a whole sequence being played out that like correlates to what's happening in the video game, and it's like the character's memory and like that's the memory. Or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that I would be interested in seeing that. That sounds really cool.
Yeah. I
I
don't know.
mean, it is comparative to like the fact that they make like TV shows or films into movies. I mean, wow, video games into TV shows and movies. I mean, because like if you look at The Last of Us, like that was like a highly
Yeah.
publicized, like profited video game series. People Twitch streamed that thing to death, and then it became like its own TV show, and it did so well. So I
What
mean,
was it again?
Mm.
The Last of Us,
Oh.
yeah. So
I just want to add to that. I've played The Last of Us, and it's definitely one of the best games ever made. Definitely one of the best narrative games ever made. And yeah, to see it adapted for television was definitely really, it was satisfying because you play the game, you expect to get the same story, and you kind of do, but it's definitely, the show makes it its own, which was nice to see.
Oh, one thing real quick, one thing I want to say. I also like love watching on YouTube or YouTube streamer like streaming people on like Twitch and stuff of them going through the whole storyline of a video game because I don't have like something that I can play it on myself. Like I only have a Switch. So I enjoy seeing that like you know, choice like personal choice in that game and you see that narrative played out. So, I mean, I agree like Chloe, I think that like you'll see more of that sort of like engagement with that, because we're really already seeing it even with just people wanting to watch those on streaming or YouTube play video games. So the narratives have to only get better, because I think people are engaging with that sort of content. It's becoming another sort of like televised content, you know?
Right.
All right, so why don't we talk about another one of my unpopular opinions? All right, so before I get into this one, have all of you seen the Harry Potter franchise?
Yeah.
Of course.
All right, so here is my unpopular opinion. This has to do with Prisoner of Azkaban. All right, here it is. Prisoner of Azkaban is not the best Harry Potter movie. People often rank it as one of their favorites, and I get why. It's probably top 3 for me, and I understand the significance of it. I think it's the film in the franchise where, the whole franchise really found it really figured out what it wanted to be. But I think when I go back to Prisoner of Azkaban, every time I rewatch it, I always think, yeah, this is good. But I think the reason it isn't my favorite, and that I think this is a thing with a lot of people, is because of the time turner. Here's what I mean by that. So you bring in this thing that has such a huge impact on the storytelling. You can turn back time, you can change everything, and then you just take it out after that movie and the book as well, and it's just not in the overall story anymore. This huge thing that can pretty much undo everything that they've been through, and it's just gone. You can't just, you can, but you can't just ignore that and pretend that it doesn't exist anymore. So every time I look back at Prisoner of Azkaban, I just think, oh, okay, so when time travel becomes super helpful, but then they just don't continue to use it in the future. I don't know. How do you guys feel about it?
It's such a cop out. It makes me so angry. Because I agree, like they use it one time and then you get like the dire consequences of the rest of the like film franchise, and you're like, hey, so like, what about that thing that we did a few movies back, But I agree. It's funny when you sent me that one, I was like, that is such a thing, like a popular opinion. People love the third one. Like that is their die hard favorite one. Because I've been seeing it a lot, like on TikTok recently, people talking about like the discourse of their favorite Harry Potter movies. And it's funny because mine is like the second one. I don't know why, but the second one is just very nostalgic for me. You would think like the first one, but I don't even think that one's as like crazy as this. I don't know. The second one was far more like memorable in my brain, but I think that's just like my own childhood experience with it. So, but the third one is really good. But yeah, I agree. I don't think it's the best one, but it is interesting. So I'll say that. Anybody else?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I think this was in the second one, but me and my brothers always quote like, "There's a troll in the dungeon." Like just randomly, someone will quote it. But I think the second one's really good too. That's the Chamber of Secrets, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that, well, it's the third one, I think I have always heard as people's favorites. I'm trying to remember if there's an excuse for why they don't time travel after that, but I feel like maybe, I don't know, I just love Sirius Black's character as well. Like, not to say that the third one is my favorite, but I'm just thinking about it like from that perspective. It is kind of, I was gonna say it's the first one where they're like older, kind of, but it's not really, because they're older in the second one too. But it definitely takes that scary turn. Like I remember being afraid of the rat guy. I forget his name.
Peter Pettigrew.
But
yeah.
Yeah, Peter Pettigrew.
That is the one where they're kind of like more like they definitely hit puberty then.
Yeah, and I like the feet, or what was it? The thing that has the wings.
The hippogriff.
Yeah, hippogriff. Yeah. Like they introduced a lot of cool stuff in that one, like different things, like obviously the time travel, but like being able to ride on that thing. I think the story got more and more complex. I don't know. And I guess I'm not really saying much. I'm just saying more.
That's okay, Chloe. What about you, Hunter and Cass? Where does Prisoner of Azkaban sit with you?
I like manically watched all the Harry Potter movies in one day in high school, and they're all like blending together right now. So I'm just like, which one was the Goblet of Fire? Is that the fourth one?
That was number 4. Yep.
All right, that's the only one I can remember right now. So I'm no
It's
help.
the most traumatic.
probably-
Robert Pattinson dies in it. Spoiler
Oh.
alert.
I remember the one where they go like in the water with all the like things coming at them. I love
I knew that was
Yeah.
gonna be the scene you remembered. I was gonna say, I bet you remember it because he turns into a fish
I like that
or
one.
like a fish
We're
boy.
mermaid
When they
stands.
go through, like all the mazes and stuff. I was
Yeah,
like,
dude.
I was like eating it up. It was so good. That one's my favorite. Anyway,
That was scary for me as a kid.
oh, I loved it.
That's one of the scariest ones to me too. It's definitely not. I mean, I know Kate had mentioned something about it to me, but it's not one of my favorites only because it is so scary and sad to me. It was like the first one that was so devastating, I think.
Happened. Yeah,
I don't know.
Watch them all.
But it was so great. It was so good.
Yeah, I think that if I had to go back and pick a favorite, my personal favorite would probably have to be Goblet of Fire. But I think like the best one, like the best movie in the franchise is probably Deathly Hallows Part 2. Because that was just the payoff and it was just so beautifully made and it was just such a great conclusion. But that's just me. All right, so tell you what, why don't we move on to another one of your unpopular opinions? Felicity, why don't you go next? What's another opinion you wanted to bring up?
I know that I think we talked about this a lot during the last one because we were talking about sequels and I kept bringing up musicals because I have a problem. But I said musicals are great. That was my unpopular movie opinion is that I love them and I think they're so good. And it's actually funny because I'll watch movies with my dad like sometimes, and he always puts on the old like Time channel, and it's always a musical. Literally every single movie. He'll start watching it, and he's like, "Oh my god, it's a fucking musical." Sorry for swearing. But he's like, "It's a musical." And then he'll have to change the channel and then he'll just keep coming back because he has nothing else to watch. But I just love them so much. Like what I think my first like favorite musical was Grease, and I just have been hooked ever since. I don't know. There's some really good ones. There's some really bad ones. There's some really good ones.
Yeah, I agree with you. But yeah, why don't we move on to back to Hunter? So Hunter, what's an unpopular movie opinion you wanted to bring up?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that nudity and like sex scenes in films are like rarely ever necessary to prove anything, like a point, whatever. And in my opinion, I think that they're almost always there just to exploit like a young actress. And one of my examples was Euphoria, the second season, because I watched that and I was so uncomfortable with some of the scenes with Sydney Sweeney because there's like one sequence in particular that I'm thinking about, and it just literally like they just did not, I feel like they just exploited her, and it's so sad to see. And I feel like there's other ways to get your point across without, this young actress being totally bare for the whole world to see for like 15 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, I think that there's ways for us to get around that, and it just makes me uncomfortable to see.
I will agree. I do think that nudity and sex scenes do feel kind of pushed into movies a little too often. But I will say that I don't think it takes away from the quality of Euphoria. I mean, I have watched Euphoria. I watched it recently, and I did enjoy it for the most part. And I do think that, yeah, there might have been a little too much. Well, yeah, there definitely was too much sex and nudity, but that's also how I feel about, I kind of feel the same way about shows like Shameless.
Yeah, like I think that you can do it. Like, obviously, I'm saying, not saying like, never have nudity, blah, 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 because like I think, it's, nudity isn't bad. And I just think that we sexualize it too much. It's like, it's not bad. It's just when it becomes like overly sexual to the point where it just feels like exploitative, like on one young actress. I don't know. I don't know.
Like a ploy to get viewers,
Yeah.
to get more viewers.
Yeah.
It's all for like flash value. There's no like real like sensuality in it where like the writing is like genuine. It's more of like, oh, this will bring like a lot of people to watch this part specifically. And like It's all just like terrible for the actor or actress in general, I feel like.
I would agree. I think Game of Thrones also kind of does that. I mean, did that. Like, they were also very, like, just putting stuff in there that was like, this is just for shock value. This is just for to get people to watch. I think it sort of played that role. Go ahead, Chloe, while we're still on that tidbit.
I was gonna say too, I feel, and I haven't settled completely into this opinion, but I was thinking about it. I feel like it's less jarring in like period pieces, like anything that's set back, because it's just like, I don't know, it wasn't a public thing yet. It's almost like written into the history of it. So like obviously Game of Thrones isn't like
Real history.
necessarily, yeah, real history. But it's interesting that you brought that up because I was thinking of like movies like that were like based around the Roman Empire, and like they always seem to have a little bit in it. And
Like
and then I was like,
Spartan or whatever that movie's called. Something like
yeah,
that, 300
exactly.
or whatever.
But it's way more fitting there because it's just like per the times. I don't know.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree. I feel like there's like a time and a place. You know what I mean? Yeah,
Mhm,
I agree with that.
mhm.
And I also will feed that argument of like Europeans are so much like more used to like nudity and like sex and talking about like all that type, like all those sort of like levels of things, as Americans try to like hide that. And but there is this sort of like feminist discourse that happens in the sense of like, is this too much? Is this voyeuristic? Is this, just to get money, pretty much. Viewers get money. And I feel like a lot of it in the American sense is just to get money. It's not, I mean, like if you think about like that scene, I think the one that you're thinking of from Euphoria in the second season, because haha, funny. I've only seen the second season of Euphoria. Uh,
You know what I mean? Like that
never
scene.
saw the first one. Are
We
you
all know
talking
what I'm
about the
talking
one in
about.
like the second episode or something where Sydney Sweeney is just like naked and it's like Jacob Elordi's like character's like dream sequence of her, and it's
Yeah,
just the weirdest,
they're just fucking for like 10 minutes.
literally,
Yeah.
and she's just naked for no reason.
Yeah.
There is some plot device in there, but I think it's just, and I mean, there's this whole discourse on Sam Levinson and The Idol, and I have a lot of opinions about that, but I won't bring that all up. But I totally agree. I think that there is some form of like, was it necessary? Did this further the plot? That's the question. If it furthers the plot, sure. If it's just for fun, just say it's for fun. I feel like there's, just don't make it when it's not. Don't say that it's for something when it's really not for anything. And I feel like Euphoria tries to say that sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. Cassidy, why don't we move on to you next? What is another unpopular opinion that you wanted to talk about?
We don't need to make any more Christmas movies. So unnecessary in every capacity. Like the old ones are so good. We don't need any more. Like the Charlie Brown, any of like the hand-drawn animated ones, they're so beautifully done. The stories are a little outdated, I would say, politically. But besides that, I think just the new ones are horrible. And I think the meaning is like completely lost and there's no real like genuine Christmasness to it, I think.
The last great one was probably Elf. And that's like even from before the 2010s, I think. So,
That's like 2010 just is the line.
cut off. Yeah. Like, unless Christmas becomes something totally different, I don't need to see anything else. And it's funny because Cass and I spent one Christmas like hanging out because we were both living in the same apartment complex, and we literally watched this one like romantic comedy Christmas movie that was just so like, I mean, the ending of it was just like, what? Like,
Did we cry?
um,
What was it?
I'll have to look it up. I'll look it up, but it had the girl from Game of Thrones and Emilia Clarke,
Yeah.
if that's her name. And yeah, Amelia Clark, and she was in it, and it was just, oh, Last Christmas, that's what it was called, and it came out in 2019. And she's like this like sort of just train wreck woman, and then she meets this guy that's so mysterious and nice, and then like, I'm not going to spoil the end unless you want me to, but it was just like, I mean, we had fun watching it, but it was just like, I don't know, it really did not need to be a film that was made.
Chloe, did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I was gonna say one of the funniest movies I've ever seen is actually a Christmas movie. And I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's called The Night Before with Seth Rogen and Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yes,
Um,
yes, I know that one. Yep.
Yeah.
It's so funny
oh
you
my
bring that
God.
up. I saw it on like a movie grid like TikTok today. They were
Oh,
like
okay.
listing them, and that movie was one of them. I've never seen it, but I want to. It looks so funny. I love movies like that.
It's so good. And I forget, of course, because I can't remember anyone's name, like actors or actresses.
Seth
But I think
Rogen, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
no, it was the guy who plays like the drug dealer in the film. Once you see it, like it's the timing in it is just so well done. And like, because Seth Rogen's Jewish.
Mhm.
So like they play into that in the film. I just think it's so funny. You guys should definitely watch it. But I was like giggling because it was the first thing I thought of when you were like no more Christmas movies. I was like, why is the funniest movie I've ever seen a Christmas movie?
Well, when was it made? If it's before 2010, then we're good.
2015.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Oh.
I
Yeah.
was like,
You
all
should
right,
wa- you should-
2015 is the cutoff.
Oh, yeah. You guys should watch it. It's
I
really
think
good.
I've seen it.
We
Oh,
can make
I
it a
would
movie
bet that
night.
you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
New movie list.
Tell you what, I think I have this question to ask just to add on to Christmas movies. This is a debatable question that I've asked many people, but I just want to get all your opinions. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yes.
I've never seen it, but I say it is because everybody says it is. I'm sorry. I know. I'm literally like the poster child for like, movie you should see as with a film degree, and I've seen a
Same.
bio on Letterboxd is I've never seen Fight Club or Pulp Fiction. Cry Me a River.
Oh, Pulp Fiction. Yeah.
And Fight
Never
Club.
seen The
So bad.
Godfather.
I will watch them. It's
Yeah.
not that I don't want to watch them. I'm just so lazy.
No, same.
We're all so bad. I feel like we've literally you name a film, we probably have.
We just watch like very niche things, I feel like.
We do watch very niche stuff. And it's not like niche in like a we're special way.
Yeah. Like
Yeah, our movie interests are so different, I feel like, but also the only thing we have in common is like reality TV. And we're like, yes.
Or queer TV shows. We always watch those together.
Allies.
I still love I was gonna like build onto that. I don't think I would have watched or not that I wouldn't have. I just don't watch a lot of stuff, to be honest. But I don't think I would have watched like the Tatiana and like the drag show that you guys watch. But
Yeah.
it's so funny.
Oh, RuPaul's
Like,
Drag Race.
Yeah, but the YouTube one.
Trixie and Katya.
Oh, Trixie and Katya.
Yeah. Where
Yeah.
they'll like review TV shows and stuff.
Yeah, what is it? We like to watch. That's what they call their YouTube series. They'll like watch
It's so
Netflix
good.
shows or movies and then like talk over the commentary over them. But yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
I'm always
wicked funny.
down. I gotta see Die Hard sometime, so it might as well be with my pals.
I could use a refresher on that one too.
Tell you what, why don't we move on back to Chloe? So, Chloe, what is another unpopular movie opinion that you have?
I was trying to think of another one I might have. I guess building off of liking non like mainstream movies. Has anyone seen The Way, Way Back?
Yeah.
No, but
Do-
it's on
do you
my
like that
list.
movie?
I know I'd love it.
Yes. It was
Yeah.
really good. It was really good.
Okay, yeah. Like Fee, you should definitely watch it.
I know I'd love it. I love coming of age.
Yes. Like for
I saw
for
it
some reason.
in 2013.
Really? I don't remember it being like a very popular film at all, but you definitely very well could have. But it's one of my favorite movies for no particular reason. Yeah, it's a water park.
I saw this in theaters when I was like 14, I think. That's
I love
Yeah,
Sam
and
Rockwell.
yes, I love Sam Rockwell. And Steve Carell plays like the like not
Stepdad.
liked like evil stepdad, yeah, which is such a cool role to see him in. But it's just like it takes place in a beach town, and it's just like quintessential coming of age. I love that movie with like the mentor who brings up the Like the main character. Oh, love it. So good.
One of my favorite niche like tropes or something of films is 20 to late 20s, 30s female coming of age films, like that sort of vibe. If you ever seen anything like that, like Keira Knightley plays this role so well. She has this movie called Laggies, and actually Sam Rockwell is in it, and I think Chloe Grace Moretz, and it's just sort of this like, it's just like that film where her life kind of falls apart, and then she kind of has to like work from the ground up to like rebuild and find herself. But instead of being in high school, when like usually you'll see that like that Edge of 17 or something film with like Haley Steinfeld, that's like a really good like high school coming of age film. But I would say like with this Keira Knightley one, it's just interesting to see because like it's a totally different age that you would see somebody sort of like coming to terms with that. Like, and it's not like being 50 or 60 where you're having, or like 40, 50 when you're having like your midlife crisis sort of environment. Like, I don't know, you don't get to see like women be messy, and I feel like that's like women being messy, and it's like there's the truth right there. That's what you don't
That's
see. That's
point.
it.
That's a good point, actually.
So I always have loved coming of age films. So I always want to see the way back. It's on my list. So that's a good niche.
Yay.
All right, should we move on to one of my opinions next?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's one of my next opinions. So, Felicity, I think this will relate back to what you were just talking about a little while ago. So this has to do with Grease from 1978. Okay, this is, I think, where we're going to have kind of an argument, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so with Grease from 1978, I'm not going to lie, Felicity, I'm not a fan. You know, it's one of those movies where I look back at it and I think, I understand why people love it. Not for me. That's just all it is. All right. It's kind of similar to what I was talking about earlier. When I watch that movie, I get that I know why it's a classic and I know why it's iconic. And it has, the music is very memorable, but again, it's one of those movies where I just don't find the plot very entertaining or memorable, in my opinion. I'm not very fond of the characters in it, to be honest. Yeah, it's just one of those movies where I kind of just tune out when I watch it. And so I'm sorry, Felicity, but that's just how I feel about it.
That's okay. I totally get it. I was loving Hunter's facial reaction to that statement. But no, I totally agree. I mean, definitely not the best characters. It in many ways does not age well. It's not stating anything positive by any means. I don't know. I feel like I'm very curious to see what the next generation will think about Grease, because I feel like we grew up in a time where we were still able to watch it and like enjoy it with knowing like the problems in it. But yeah, trust there are so many things in the film that I'm like, I don't accept that. But I think it's the music and just the costume design and everything that I really like about it. To be honest, I think that I mostly enjoy the movie for the music and not the in between when they're talking. When they're talking, I kind of agree. It just really falls flat. And the second one, like I won't even like acknowledge that that one. That one's so bad.
All right, guys, I think that's where we're going to end part 1 of this discussion. Feel free to go check out part 2 on the channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you there. Thanks.